Welcome back to another episode of Become One Living, where me and Joe, my wife Jody Dommerstadt, we're talking about stuff. Yoga, bodies, awareness, consciousness, a whole bunch of stuff. And today we're really just going to see what rises, what comes up. Of all the things, of all the things that there is to talk about, it's like, I don't know. I honestly couldn't tell you which way we're going to go today, because it's like emotion, feeling, scripture, body. I mean, what's coming up for you?
What's coming up for me? Me and you in conversation have been discussing this concept of duality. I would like to start the discussion on duality. Mm-hmm. We were talking about it's both.
Yeah, this is you and me, like, in a nutshell, because you'll talk about like the concept of, well, it's all you, everything's you. You have to take a responsibility because everything in your life is you and it's about you. And immediately, because it's yoga, I say yes, it's very important to take responsibility for everything, but also you are in relationship with me, and you are in relationship with family, and you are in relationship with people that you work with, and you are in relationship with that microphone, and you are in relationship with, if you're going to ride a bicycle, you're in a relationship with the bicycle, everything. And so that there is the dance. It's like, yes, I want to take responsibility for my life, my actions, my interactions, my relationships. And there is also the thing that I'm in relationship with,
that you have no control over. Yes, I agree. Well, what you're speaking about to me is Lila. Lila is the play of consciousness in yoga. And Dan and I definitely have different views, or we come at it with different views. And ironically, today I'm dressed in all white, which is very ironic because I usually come at it from the darkness, and Dan is in black. So we are completely opposite of what we usually are. And I have to say that when Dan just shared that I speak about 100% responsibility, that was a trauma response, and that is a trauma response, meaning people that want to take 100% responsibility want to think that if they can control their behavior, then they could impact the outcome of what's happening. So there is that dance of saying, hey, I've shown up, I've done what I can do, I've participated in the way I can, in love, in consciousness, and then you have to let the cards fall as they will.
Yeah. I remember back in the early days of us, where it's like, I can't remember, some it was like almost like a car was in the roadway, and then a car came the opposite way, and they knew each other, and they stopped, and we came, and they were talking in the middle of the road, and like you were ready to get out and like start a fisticuffs, like start a fight. And I'm thinking, okay, we could do that, but we could also just back up and go and like be on our way. So we definitely come at it from different angles, but
wait a minute. That was definitely how I was, and that was, again, a part. Mm-hmm. So when Dan and I talk about our lives and my behavior, I'm okay with my behavior and that part of me that would want to get out and flip the guy's car, because that was the part that kept me alive and kept me in business and doing things my whole life. And right. I want to encourage people listening, and even you, Dan, is I'm proud of that part that would want to kill someone or want to fight or push, because that's all I knew until I could learn something else on every level. My nervous system was stuck.
Yeah, and hey, look, I'm not. So if we put the ball back in my court, you know, through the course of my life, early life, and into to the middle, it was like I would just avoid things. And so that to an extreme is not healthy either. It isn't until the last decade where I was willing to draw a boundary and make a statement just to say, hey, this is where I stand, versus just avoiding everything. Because there are things that, if you're alive, that you need to address, right? It's just a part of being alive.
Yeah, that
you can't go around fighting absolutely everything unless that's your truest nature, and you can't go around avoiding absolutely everything unless that's your truest nature.
No, but I tried both.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to fight, and what I couldn't fight, I tried to avoid. And I want to go back to that word Lila for a moment.
Mm-hmm. Lila is the play of consciousness.
Yeah, Lila is the play of consciousness in this way. In philosophy, in some yogic philosophies, life is a game. It's playful, and there is concealment and revealment. So those are the two pieces I offer today in our discussion. Mm-hmm. Is at any time you will experience concealment, and in concealment you forget completely who you are. And most people spiral out, and you can spiral for days, weeks, years, lifetimes. Mm-hmm. And then concealment happens, the sun comes out, and you come back, and you're like, oh my God. And you pendulate, right? You go back and forth. And the swing is really big. Like, I used to be really calm, but when I lost it, man, I lost it, right? Mm-hmm. And now I don't lose it.
Yeah, because you've remained consistent. Metaphor, you can either be the bus stop or the bus. Whichever you choose, there's a consistency there. Right. So you've been consistent in your pursuits.
Yes. I don't want to be reactive. I don't want to be angry. I don't want to fight or defend, because that's not living. That is surviving. Mm-hmm. And surviving is exhausting. Mm-hmm. If you're continually arguing what you do, defending and fighting people, or ready to fight, mm-hmm. you're in survival mode. I was in survival mode most of my life. Mm-hmm. And that was due to complex traumas. Mm-hmm. And at a point when I say, you got to take responsibility, is, okay, things happen in my life. I altered myself to survive from those. I changed.
Yeah.
So I could survive. But at a point, the responsibility to me is, well, what are you going to do to heal? How do you want to live? I don't want to be mad at everybody, or angry, or judgmental, or cranky, or in physical pain. That's Lila, though. You have the pulse, and the pulse also doesn't take you out of pain forever, because it's a pulse.
Absolutely. And just like everything, I think you can say this for just about everything. There is a time and a place for everything. You know, and in one way, what I'm thinking about right now is I had a person in my life who was diagnosed with multiple personality disorder. And I'm not a big fan of labels, like I think you are not either. However, if you begin to dig a little bit, and by dig I mean take the time to understand, as I got to know that person, I realized that each of the personalities really was an adept. It was a well-versed, it was an advanced evolution quickly with regards to overwhelming experiences and environments. So it was like, with this environment and this person, the person figured out how to survive with this personality. And over here, it was a different personality. And over here, it was a different environment. And so a different personality came and rose, and that person survived by this technique of creating personalities. I began to see that it was an evolutionary piece rather than a diagnosis and a title to be given, right? So, and I think on the other side of that is like, not to label that.
Well, IFS, you just spoke about IFS, internal family system,
Mm-hmm.
sees anything as parts of someone that do something to help you survive, to take care of you, to tend to your needs.
Right. I mean, in a multiple personality disorder diagnosis, though, it's really, they're almost like completely different personalities and so highly evolved to me. Right, like extremely.
Yeah. Well, Dick Schwartz shared a study that when he worked with multiple personalities, that one part would have diabetes and another part wouldn't.
Incredible.
And that's why I share with people, if you have chronic pain, that's a part.
Mm-hmm.
Your part is what part of you is here that experiences that pain, because it's not here all the time. And that's what I would say for me, what's helped is this concept of play.
Sure.
That the universe longs to co-create. The universe is not moral. It's not ethical. It wants to generate energy and create things. So whatever you do or I do, it will be created, whether it be life enhancing or not.
Right.
And the repetition over time creates habits, and then these habits turn into us believing that's who we are. Yeah. And so Lila is these two words, concealment and revealment. Right. The concealment is, I'm lost. I don't know anything. How deep do you go into that depth of being lost? In the beginning, you may go very far and hard, like I did. Mm-hmm. And the revealment is brief in the beginning. These little
glimpses,
yes,
little flashes.
And Deb Dana, who talks about the polyvagal theory, calls some of these things glimmers instead of triggers. And you have to hook into the glimmers, hook into the little glimpse of light of different than you're doing now, because that reminder helps get you out of it so that you can sustain a different level and a different energetic awareness longer than staying in the other one. That's what I did when you said I committed to change. Yeah. So anger or frustration was my go-to and pain until I learned a different go-to.
Sure. And the you said learned, but learned it was informed by experience and openness. You know, there's like a whole bunch of ingredients that allows for that you created or was open to incorporating into and synthesizing into your approach and way of being and living.
Yes. Yeah. First part was, and you all may have heard this if you're listening to an episodes before, that I realized something was wrong. And luckily, I started studying yoga when I was young, so I knew there was more possibilities than what I was doing right now. Mm-hmm. And this play of consciousness also, I find when you hear the word play, it allows me to say, wow, is this real? How much am I adding to this? Because when you play, you make up, imagine.
You improvise.
Yes. How much am I making this more than it is? Who's adding this stuff? That's what I ask myself. Who's making up these stories? Who's making it harder than it is?
Than it needs to be.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Gosh, the thinking mind. I when you take us there, you know, the reflections in nature, the way that a lightning flash moves through the sky is the path of least resistance. And why can't we operate like that, you know?
Well, you do that skillfully. You move your life, I witness, through the path of least resistance, where I'll run through a wall. Right. Not so much anymore, but if I wanted something, I'm going for it. And that helped me witnessing you. The gift of Dan being my partner and my husband, he inspired me from certain behaviors that you have and qualities, the way you listen to people. When I would watch him listen, the other day we were at Yoga Bohemia in Long Beach Island in New Jersey. And Dan was speaking to a woman and they were in it. There was 12 of us all around him talking loudly, giggling, laughing, eating. He didn't even blink. Those two looked like they were in a bubble alone. And when he left, I said, he was really present, right? She goes, oh my God. She said it was as if everyone in the room dissolved. And when I saw you do that with someone, be that present years ago, I said, I want to do that. I want to be that present. And hopefully everyone listening, you have someone in your life that inspires you to raise up, to do something different, to try something different. You've inspired that, and you do go the path of least resistance, which is yoga. It's saying this is unfolding. How do you be with it? Not how do you change it? I was a changer.
Right.
I would want to smash it.
And the experience of myself is that I know that I love luxurious things too. You know, I love having like rich experiences. I love new experiences. I love things that money can buy, but I don't remain attached to them. And it's like, it's almost like if you're driving down Ocean Boulevard and for me, it's like if the sun's setting, it's like, oh my God, pull down to the bay and sit and watch the sunset. Cause that's the moment that's what's going on is, you know, there's this whole solar system and all these things going on, and we don't take time.
I wasn't able to do that, and some listeners might not be able to because that's not safe. Right? So the right and the left side of the brain, me and Dan, this is really our real life discussion. Is I share with him that he inspired me, and it was scary when he would say, "Joe, let's go to the bay." No, I don't want to. Or there was years where we would walk in town, a specific walk. And he would say, can we go here? No, I don't want to. I just want to walk. And it wasn't controlling. It was controlling to feel safe. I felt so unsafe in my body, my mind, my spirit, my soul. Trauma changed the way that I think. So pulling over for a sunset was unsafe because it wasn't planned and I don't have control over it. And people in the world some of you listening might not realize you are running limbically. Everything in your life is through a fear lens and about how can I not feel this or stay so rigid that nothing else happens. I lived that way. And it took a lot of time for you to get me, and not even get me. I invite those things, but sometimes I don't. Like the other day, we were bike riding, and Dan said, "You want to go see the sunset?" I said, "Nope." I just wanted to get my bike ride in, and so. But I'm also aware of that now, where before we couldn't take a different route. Do you hear that? And I hope you hear this, and that opens your heart to have compassion, because some people can't regulate. I couldn't regulate. I was stuck in a fear response.
Yeah. Well, and if you just keep going down the stream and being open to that conversation, being open to learning, you'll also realize that just this little piece is so rich in that. Let me think of how I want to say this. So whether you're learning something on the computer or learning to play the piano or learning a different language or learning yoga asana or learning yoga mantra, there's techniques. And so techniques are a critical piece of learning. It's like if you find a technique, you do it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And then you do it over and over and over again until it becomes you. And then the technique almost dissolves away. So if you have a technique that allows you to feel safe, an approach to life, and you keep doing it over and over and over again, you can create enough safety where then you can expand from that.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, so if you, I'm always cautious not to take a snapshot and lay everything on the line for that, because that snapshot is a glimpse. It's fleeting. It's not going to last.
Yeah.
You know, so allowing people in your life, I don't want to sound redundant, but allowance
It is redundant.
to be who they are.
It's repetitive.
Yeah.
The allowance.
Yeah. So for me, what's critical in relationship is that to honor and respect people where they are so that they can blossom from that point.
Yeah, meeting life and people where they are. And I want to go back to what you said about technique. That's why you have to have practices. When people say they do yoga or teach yoga, what do you go to a yoga class and leave? That's taking a class.
Right.
Where the practices every day, because there's 23 other hours, and practice is this in IFS and in yoga and in neural sculpting and a lot of the things I study. This is why I study them, and Akashic records. All of this is about relationship with self and knowing I'm not those other little selves. Small s, meaning when you're stuck in trauma, you're stuck frozen in time. So some people get arrested at a certain age.
Right.
You get stuck. So clients I work with are sometimes 10 years old. That's who I'm talking to.
Yeah, even if they're 60.
Yes.
Chronologically.
Yes. And what happens is when you're frozen in time and you're behaving from that 10 or 12-year-old or 5-year-old, you don't even know that you're older. So you're still afraid to experience anything because you think you're 4 or you think you're 10. So the goal in IFS is to build self-energy and trust to say, what helped me, Jody, the most is realizing I am old enough, wise enough, strong enough, intelligent enough to take care of myself no matter what. I'm not 5, I'm not 10. But years ago, I thought I was still the 5-year-old or the 3-year-old that experienced severe trauma. And she was living my life to try to keep me safe. Didn't ask for her needs to be being met, didn't know how to meet her needs, didn't state anything, people pleased, lied, manipulated to get needs met. And what happens is that comes into real time now, and you and your partner, me and you are talking, and meanwhile you're talking to a 3-year-old and you don't know it. Yeah. So how do you get beyond that? The practices are saying, yes, I'm safe now, but not now as a 3-year-old. I'm 50. We're not there anymore. Come home. And that part might not want to because it doesn't know us. So that's why it goes back to yoga and relationship. You're building an intimate relationship with all of your memories, all of your stories, all of your parts, so you can co-create your life with the divine intelligence in the present moment as you are in your highest potential.
Yes. And then when you accomplish or attain or somehow feel like you've arrived there, guess what? There's more.
And this could take some time.
Yeah. I think patience, understanding, approaching with love, they're all supportive of self-realization. What's the big deal about so why would anyone want to be self-realized? It takes work and effort but I get the feeling that when you realize yourself, you feel calmer, more in the moment, more present. Things affect you less. You can't be rocked.
Yes. Life happens and you stay. You don't get pulled by life. Victimization and living externally or sensory wise, like living according to external stimulus, I had no idea who I was. You won't know who you are, because if someone farts, it stinks. If this smells good, it's great. Oh, I love Dan because he played this music. I don't like Jackie because of this or this. If you live continually according to what's going on in the outside,
Yeah.
you lose yourself.
It's like you're in a washing machine.
Yeah. So you think who you are according to what the outer world tells you.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't happen till you get to a certain age and a certain practice and a certain place where you don't listen to the outside. You ask, who am I?
But all the tools that you share, and from your experience in life and yoga, those are the tools that bring you closer to a self-realization.
Yes, yoga is self-realization. IFS is self-leadership, meaning capital S is leading the way, not my parts. In this podcast, before it starts, in my mind, to myself, I ask my parts to back out. I ask them to take a seat, to join us, so that I can be in self, in my heart, and not ego or story or try to prove something or try to be something I'm not. Or to say something so you all like me. That's behind me. All my parts or whatever's here is sitting with me, so I can share what authentically comes through.
Well,
That's from yoga.
Yeah. I feel incredibly fortunate to have pursued this relationship with you, because I remember way back when we would have little disagreements, and I would say to you, I said to you, Joe, I'm not trying to be right here. You know, and that I feel like was a little good brick that we built on, that we came to an understanding that if we were disagreeing on something, I was really just trying to make something productive or get to a certain level where it was copacetic, where things were in harmony, you know, versus trying to win a fight or getting more check marks on, you know, winning something. It's just...
And this is beautiful to share with everyone, is I didn't understand that. I didn't come from a household of conversation that Dan offered. And
well, I didn't come from a household of that either, but
no, but I was still in trauma. I had the brain tumor growing. I had multiple health concerns when I met Dan. When me and Dan reunited, I was in the hospital having 5 bone amputations, possibly losing a limb. A toe is a toe. Let's not exaggerate. But still, I was not well. And also, I was still in my addiction 15 years ago. I just stopped my addiction 15 years ago. And this was all with Dan. And Dan brought this new conversation to my life. And I watched my parts want to reject him because he was unsafe. He was unfamiliar. He wasn't predictable. I never knew, and I still don't know what the heck this man is going to say. Oh my God. In yoga class, he'll walk in and I don't know what's going to happen. And it's great sometimes, and other times it ain't. Anyway, but I invite you all to hear this, because when they see us together, or they think we work together and everything's peachy, it's not. We work at conversing, and it has taken me years to understand that you aren't looking to win. You aren't looking to be right. I didn't understand that, because if I was wrong, it meant I'm going to get in trouble or something bad's going to happen. And I was stuck or frozen at different ages of time, and it takes a lot to thaw out. I want to share that too. We now have this new somatic yoga, or the polyvagal theory, and now everyone is talking about, I'm so collapsed. I'm just shut down. You can't go from shut down to kumbaya, my lord. That's not how the nervous system works. I was so completely shut down that it took years to thaw out, to rage. And then from rage, it turned into sadness, depression, sorrow. And then it turned into, I'm able to regulate myself and feel all the feels and not fly into a habitual pattern of defensiveness or shutdown or fighting or arguing. There really is a process to come back to wholeness. And not that you're not already whole, but I forgot.
Yeah. I get the feeling that it's almost a knee-jerk reaction for somebody to want to define themselves with a certain word like that. It's kind of like the concept of, if somebody says, "Yeah, I'm a shaman," then it's like, then run. Because you just none of my greatest teachers call themselves by anything like that. It's like because they're being it.
Yeah, and when we share these words, being, and even when me and you talk about being, it's like, yeah, man, I'm here, I'm being. There's so many steps to get to being. One of our friends said, "You Americans like all these steps." She said, "You Americans like steps." Yes, and they're important because you also took steps to get enlightened.
Mm-hmm.
Like this person's enlightened in this lifetime, but you did do things to get there. That's what we share. I don't want people to think you wake up one day and you're enlightened.
Right.
That's not the truth.
There's a process. Even if you're not, writing it down as you go for a book, there's a process that happens.
Yeah. There's an inquiry.
Yeah.
There's an awareness.
Mm-hmm.
There's an allowing, that word you like, that it's, who's here now? Who needs to be right? Who doesn't want to be neutral? Who doesn't want to let it go?
Right.
Who wants to consume?
Right.
Or who's so afraid to do this or that? It's when I finally settled into me, I realized how afraid of life I really was. Due to all the things I experienced, I contracted so much. I almost lost myself in that contraction. I did. I almost died because I didn't want to live because it was so uncertain. I didn't think I could regulate it.
Right.
Regulate myself. And now I'm not stronger, like, yeah, I can do this. It's really this gentleness of, wow, I'm so aware of all the skills and tools I have and that I've become, and I can use them to navigate Lila, navigate the pulsation of consciousness of, I'm lost, or, wow, we just spent $20,000 on the dentist. There goes our savings. Right?
Yeah.
That's true. That's what, listen, y'all are going to go through that at one point in time. Dentists are expensive. It's like 1 minute you have a little savings and the next minute there goes the dentist.
Right.
And to not feel cheated or punished or sad or scared, because that's money is a pulsing. It's an energy. It's like it comes, you have it, and then thank God we have it for it to go.
Yes. Yeah. You almost want to celebrate the going. Bon voyage.
Arrivederci. Don't forget to ride. Oh my God. Wow. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Jo.
becomeoneliving@gmail.com. If you hear something, if it stands out, if you want to share something.
Yeah, write us.
Yeah, please.